What happens when a country music icon and a well-known morning show host come together for a live television interview? Well, the encounter between Miranda Lambert and Michael Strahan on Good Morning America took a wild turn, and it all started off deceptively normal. The cameras roll, the lights shine brightly, and the audience is quietly waiting. Michael begins with what seems like a standard question. So, Miranda, your new album has just dropped, and your fans are absolutely loving it. But there's been some criticism out there saying that you've been playing it safe this time around. The same formula, same style. What do you think about that? Miranda's response comes with a smile, but you can already see a subtle tension behind it. She leans in slightly and says, "Well, Michael, I'd argue that those critics haven't actually listened to the full album. If they did, they'd see this as probably the most personal and raw work I've put out there. Safe is the last thing I'd call it." Michael nods, trying to keep things light, but then he presses on. "I hear you, but when you look at the tracklist, it feels similar to your past few albums. Same themes, same style of production. Do you ever worry about being seen as predictable?" Miranda's expression changes, and she sits back a little. "Predictable? Michael, I've been in this industry for over 20 years. I know exactly who I am as an artist. I'm not trying to chase trends. If people think that's predictable, then I guess I'm guilty of being authentic." The air shifts a little and the tension starts to build. Michael, sensing he might have pushed a little too hard, tries to change the subject, though you can tell it hasn't quite settled yet. He tries to stay smooth. "Okay, fair enough. But it's not just about authenticity, right? Some of your fans say that they love your work because it feels familiar, but others might feel like they've already heard these themes before." Miranda, keeping her composure, gives a small shrug. "I don't think I need to reinvent myself every time I release new music. I write about my life, and if that sounds familiar, it's because I'm still the same person living my truth." The conversation is already heating up, and Michael pushes the interview in a new direction. He's about to ask a question that will push Miranda even further. "So, Miranda, let's talk about your live shows for a moment. There's been some buzz about your stance on fans taking pictures during your concerts. You've been vocal about calling out fans for filming you on their phones during your performances. Some people feel like you're being a little harsh. What's your take?" At this point, you can see Miranda's body language shift. Her jaw tightens as she responds, her voice becoming more assertive. "Michael, when I'm on stage, I'm giving everything I have. I expect the people in the audience to actually be there, to live in the moment with me. It's not about phones, it's about real connection with the music. If that makes me harsh, then so be it." Michael, trying to play devil's advocate, leans forward a bit. "But these fans are the ones who support you, right? They paid good money to be there. Don't they have the right to capture their memories however they want?" Miranda's face hardens. "They absolutely have the right to enjoy the show, but there's a difference between enjoying it and distracting yourself by staring at your phone. I'm not up there for them to take photos for Instagram. I'm there to share my music, and that should be the priority," Michael counters again. "But we live in an era where social media is a big part of an artist's brand, right? Fans posting pictures is free advertising, in a way." Miranda raises an eyebrow, letting out a slight laugh. "Free advertising? Michael, I don't need free publicity. What I need is respect from my audience. People who are engaged, who are actually present, not just people looking for a snapshot. There's a huge difference between taking a quick picture and holding your phone up for an entire song." The tension in the studio grows as Michael tries to calm things down. "I get it, but isn't there a certain level of compromise that comes with this generation's way of experiencing things?" Miranda's eyes flash with intensity. "Compromise? I'm not here to compromise my performances. I'm not going to let the audience be distracted by phones when I'm giving them everything I've got. If people want to capture the moment, they can do it on their own time, not at my show." At this point, the interview has reached a boiling point. Michael, sensing the heightened emotion, tries to navigate the conversation to safer waters. But it seems like every direction he takes only makes things worse. "All right, Miranda, let's switch gears for a moment. I know you've been pretty active on social media recently, sharing your thoughts on a number of issues. Do you ever worry that you might alienate some of your fans with your outspoken opinions? Without missing a beat, Miranda responds with unwavering confidence. Michael, if someone stops supporting me because I have opinions, then they were never truly a fan. I'm not going to apologize for speaking my mind. I've always been honest with my fans, and I'm not about to start filtering myself now. Michael, though still maintaining his calm demeanor, tries to probe a little deeper. But doesn't that come with a responsibility? I mean, you have such a large platform. Don't you think you might push away people who don't agree with you? Miranda leans in, her voice getting sharper. Of course there's responsibility. But responsibility means using your voice when it matters, not staying silent just to keep everyone happy. I'm not going to pretend to be someone I'm not, Michael. If people don't like it, that's their problem. The studio audience has gone silent, the tension in the room thick. Michael, not backing down, asks another question. I understand what you're saying, but don't you ever worry that speaking out on certain issues might hurt your career or your fan base? Miranda's expression softens, but she's still resolute. If speaking out for what I believe in hurts my career, then I guess that's the price I'm willing to pay. I'll never apologize for being real, Michael. People can either accept me for who I am, or they can move on. It's that simple. By this point, the interview has definitely shifted from a casual conversation to a tense standoff. Michael decides to take a much more personal turn with his questions, clearly hoping to stir things up even more. This is where things start to really spiral. So, Miranda, I've got to ask. There's been a lot of speculation lately about your marriage. Some people are wondering if everything's okay between you and your husband. Do you want to clear that up for us? The air in the studio freezes. Miranda's face hardens instantly, her eyes narrowing. For a moment, there's an uncomfortable silence as she gathers herself before responding. My marriage is none of your business, Michael. And, frankly, I'm shocked that you would even bring that up, she says, her voice sharp and controlled. Michael stumbles, clearly taken aback by her reaction. Well, I only ask because it's been a topic of discussion in the tabloids. I thought you might want to address it yourself rather than let the rumors continue. Miranda doesn't blink. The tabloids can say whatever they want. That doesn't mean I'm obligated to respond. And it definitely doesn't mean I'm going to air my private life out for public consumption. Michael presses on, his tone now more insistent. But you're a public figure, Miranda. People are interested in your life. Don't you feel that as part of your platform, you owe them some transparency? Miranda cuts him off, her voice laced with ice. No, Michael. Just because I'm a public figure doesn't mean I owe anyone a window into my personal life. My relationship, my marriage, those are things I keep private. You're not entitled to know any of that. The tension in the room is palpable. You can see the producers off-camera exchange nervous glances. Michael realizes he's dug himself into a corner but tries to backtrack. I didn't mean to overstep, Miranda. I'm just asking because these are the things people are talking about. I thought you might want to set the record straight. Miranda shakes her head slowly, her tone colder than before. You thought wrong. I'm here to talk about my music, my tour, not to discuss my personal relationships. That's a line you crossed and you should have known better. By now, the interview has reached its breaking point. Miranda is visibly frustrated, and Michael seems increasingly defensive as they continue their exchange. The audience is on the edge of their seats, unsure of how much longer this will last. Michael attempts to regain some control. All right, let's move on then. I know you've been active on social media lately, sharing your views on various topics. Do you ever worry that some fans might not like your opinions, especially when it comes to politics or social issues? Miranda's response is quick and firm. Michael, if someone stops supporting me just because I have opinions, then they were never a real fan to begin with. I'm not going to apologize for standing up for what I believe in. Michael tries to pivot slightly, sensing that he might be treading on thin ice. But some people might say that being so vocal on social media could alienate parts of your audience. Don't you ever worry about that? Miranda's posture becomes even more assertive as she leans forward in her chair. I don't worry about alienating anyone. I'm going to say what I believe in, and if people don't like it, they can choose to walk away. But that doesn't mean I'm going to filter myself to make people feel more comfortable. I'm here to speak my truth, and if that ruffles some feathers, so be it. Michael is now clearly losing his composure. But don't you think that there's a balance to strike? A responsibility to your fans to not go too far with your opinions? Miranda's eyes flash with intensity. No, Michael, there's no balance when it comes to being honest. If my truth is too much for some people, then that's their problem, not mine. The studio audience is silent now, and you can feel the weight of the exchange. Michael's attempts to regain the upper hand seem to be failing. He clears his throat and tries to steer the conversation in a new direction. The interview is nearing its end, but the tension is at its peak. Michael has made one too many personal jabs, and Miranda is done trying to be polite. It's clear now that this is no longer an interview. It's a showdown. "Okay, Miranda, let's talk about your upcoming tour," Michael says, trying to redirect. "You're performing in major cities across the country. What can your fans expect from these shows?" Miranda's patience has worn thin. "They can expect a great show if they actually watch it without staring at their phones," she says, her voice biting. Michael, clearly frustrated, attempts to lighten the mood by laughing. "We're back to the phone issue again, huh?" Miranda doesn't laugh. She snaps, "Yes, we're back to the phone issue, Michael, because it's a real problem. You have no idea what it's like to look out at a crowd and see a sea of screens instead of actual faces. It's heartbreaking. People are missing the whole experience because they're too focused on proving they were there." Michael tries again. "But isn't that just the way people experience things now? They want to share the moment. There's nothing wrong with that." Miranda's voice rises slightly. "There's everything wrong with it when it becomes an obsession. People can't even enjoy a live show anymore without thinking about how it looks on Instagram. And that's not what music is supposed to be about." Michael, growing defensive, shoots back, "But you're on social media all the time. Isn't that a bit hypocritical of you?" Miranda glares at him. "Excuse me? Are you calling me a hypocrite right now, Michael? You know very well there's a difference between posting something when I choose to and letting my fans treat my performance like a live stream." The room falls silent as the tension thickens. Miranda's anger is palpable, and Michael, though trying to stay composed, is clearly rattled. "Look, Michael," Miranda says, standing up abruptly, "I've had enough. This interview is over." She begins unhooking her microphone, signaling that she's done. Michael tries to stop her. "Wait, Miranda, come on. Don't walk out." Miranda doesn't look back. "You crossed the line. You wanted drama, and you got it. But don't act like I'm the one who ruined this. You brought this on yourself." With that, she storms off the set, leaving Michael stunned, standing alone in front of the camera. The audience can feel the aftermath of what just transpired. As Miranda walks off the set, Michael is left to handle the aftermath. The camera zooms in on him, but you can tell he's still reeling from the encounter. He clears his throat and tries to regain some semblance of control. "Well, folks, that was certainly unexpected," he says, his voice tinged with discomfort. "Miranda Lambert, everyone. We'll be back after this break." But before the show can cut to a commercial, Miranda's voice rings out from off-camera. "And just for the record, Michael, my album is incredible. My tour is going to be amazing, and if anyone wants to actually hear about that instead of this nonsense, they can find me literally anywhere else." Michael's face flushes bright red. "We're still live, Miranda," he says, trying to regain control. Miranda's voice comes back sharp and unapologetic. "I know, Michael. I know." The camera cuts away, but the damage is done. What started as a routine interview has now become one of the most talked-about confrontations in television history. Both Miranda and Michael will likely reflect on the events of that day, and will be left wondering, was Michael just doing his job, or did he cross a line? And was Miranda justified in walking out, or did she overreact to questions that come with the fame? There's no clear answer, but this explosive moment has left a lasting mark on daytime television. The fallout from this interview is immediate and intense. As soon as the clip hit the internet, people started weighing in. Fans on both sides are divided, with some defending Michael's tough questions, while others side with Miranda's need to protect her privacy and set boundaries. "Miranda was totally justified," says one comment. "She doesn't owe anyone an explanation about her personal life." And Michael totally crossed the line when he brought up her marriage. That's none of his business. Another user writes, Michael was just doing his job. As an interviewer, it's his duty to ask tough questions, even if they're uncomfortable. If Miranda didn't want to answer, she could have said so without storming off. The debate continues to rage online, with fans and critics alike weighing in on who was in the right. But one thing is clear. This interview has sparked one of the most heated discussions about celebrity privacy, boundaries, and the responsibility of the media. The aftermath of the explosive interview quickly took over headlines, with news outlets scrambling to cover every angle of the situation. What started as a routine appearance to promote Miranda's new album turned into a media storm. The confrontation between her and Michael Strahan dominated news cycles for days. Miranda Lambert walks out of live interview, read one headline. Another news outlet proclaimed, GMA host Michael Strahan under fire after questioning Miranda Lambert's personal life. Social media platforms were flooded with hot takes, memes, and opinion pieces. Some fans praised Miranda for standing up for herself, calling her actions empowered and necessary, while others criticized her for being too defensive, claiming she couldn't handle a tough interview. As the dust settled, the debate deepened. Was Miranda justified in setting boundaries, or did she overreact to the tough but fair questions of a seasoned interviewer? Some pundits suggested that Michael had been out of line by pushing too hard on personal issues, while others pointed out that celebrities, especially ones with Miranda's level of fame, should be prepared for tough, sometimes uncomfortable questions. The entire episode raised larger questions about the role of the media and the responsibilities of celebrities in the public eye. While some of the criticisms aimed at Michael seemed unfair to others, one thing became clear. This was an interview that would be remembered for years to come. Behind the scenes, the fallout was no less intense. The producers of Good Morning America were left scrambling to handle the situation after Miranda walked off set. There was a noticeable shift in the studio's atmosphere, and you could tell that even the crew was on edge. Multiple sources close to the production revealed that there was a flurry of behind-the-scenes conversations as the staff tried to decide how to handle the situation. The producers had initially planned for a fun, lighthearted interview about Miranda's album, but the moment things turned personal, it became clear that the tone of the interview was no longer under their control. One insider said, everyone could feel the tension in the room. It was clear things had escalated quickly, but no one expected her to walk off. The producers were in constant communication during the commercial break, trying to figure out how to salvage the situation. Michael Strahan, who has been known for his tough interviewing style, seemed rattled by Miranda's decision to leave. I've done a lot of interviews in my time, but I've never had someone walk off like that, said a source familiar with the interview. It caught everyone off guard. Even the producers, who are typically well prepared for high-profile interviews, found themselves in uncharted waters. We never planned for this kind of outcome, one producer revealed. It went from a simple music interview to a heated exchange in seconds. No one expected it to go down this way. As the storm continued to brew, both Miranda and Michael were faced with the inevitable, responding to the fallout. On social media, fans began to demand apologies from both parties, though each had their own reasons for taking the stand they did. Michael Strahan, who was under increasing pressure from both fans and the media, issued a public apology. In a statement on social media, he said, "I deeply regret how the interview turned out. My intention was never to upset Miranda or make her uncomfortable. As an interviewer, I strive to ask questions that resonate with the audience, but I respect her boundaries and apologize if I overstepped. I'll be reflecting on this moving forward." Despite his apology, many fans felt it was insufficient. Some questioned whether Michael was genuinely sorry for pushing Miranda too far, or if he was simply apologizing to save face in the wake of the media frenzy. Others pointed out that his apology came only after the backlash became impossible to ignore. Miranda, on the other hand, remained steadfast in her position. She didn't make any public statements directly addressing Michael's actions, but she did take to her social media to reinforce her boundaries. "I stand by my decision to walk off the interview," she wrote in a post. I have every right to protect my personal life and to stand up for myself. Respect is a two-way street, and I will always speak my truth." Fans supported Miranda's stance, with many applauding her for refusing to be treated like a spectacle. However, some of her followers pointed out that her actions might have been a bit extreme. "She could have handled it differently, but I get why she did what she did," one fan tweeted. "She's allowed to have boundaries." For some, the public apology and Miranda's unwavering stance provided closure. But for others, the fallout was far from over. The interview had ignited a firestorm, and its reverberations were felt across the entertainment industry, continuing to spark conversations about respect, boundaries, and the delicate line between celebrity and privacy. As the debate continued to unfold, industry professionals began weighing in on the broader implications of the confrontation between Miranda and Michael. Experts from both the entertainment and media worlds weighed in on the incident, offering their perspectives on what this moment could mean for celebrity interviews going forward. Many media professionals pointed out that this interview could mark a shift in how interviews are conducted with celebrities, particularly those who have a long-standing relationship with the public. "This could be a wake-up call for interviewers everywhere," one industry analyst said. "When you push too far, you risk alienating your guest, and that's not a good look for the network or the show. There's a balance to be found, and this interview showed how easily it can be disrupted." On the other hand, some in the entertainment industry argued that this was simply a case of a celebrity standing their ground against an interviewer pushing boundaries. "We've seen this happen before," one former talk show host explained. "Celebrities are often expected to perform on these shows, whether they want to or not. Sometimes they just want to talk about their work, and when they're forced into talking about their private lives, they push back." Others suggested that the fallout could spark a broader conversation about the increasing demand for celebrity privacy and the blurred lines between the personal and public lives of artists. "We're living in a time where celebrities are expected to share everything with the public," said a celebrity publicist. "This interview showed us that not all artists are comfortable with that, and they won't always back down when pushed too hard." This moment has left many wondering how future celebrity interviews will be approached, especially as the demand for transparency and authenticity increases, but at what cost? As the months go by, the Miranda Lambert and Michael Strahan interview will likely remain one of the defining moments in daytime television history. It was a moment where boundaries were tested, emotions ran high, and the public got a rare glimpse of what happens when an interviewer and a guest clash in real time. For Miranda, it was a bold stand for her privacy and her integrity as an artist. For Michael, it was a learning experience that may have changed how he approaches his craft in the future. But for the millions of viewers who tuned in, it was a reminder that even the most polished interviews can go off the rails, and that celebrities, no matter how famous, still deserve respect and boundaries. In the years to come, this interview will be cited in discussions about the evolving nature of celebrity culture and the ethics of interviewing. Was it a moment of empowerment for Miranda, or was it an overreaction? Did Michael cross a line in his questioning, or was he simply doing his job as an interviewer? The debate continues, but what is undeniable is that the fallout from this moment will be felt for a long time, leaving an indelible mark on the world of entertainment.